way up? Or
Of course.
what'd you take from him?
He was my era. You know, the whole hit, not get hit, and to make the adjustments that he's made to certain fighters. You know, he's the
Terence Crawford just got the most needed visit in his build-up to the mega fight in September after Mayweather paid him a surprise visit in training camp. With the visit of the undefeated boxing legend Floyd Mayweather in Crawford's training camp, Terence Crawford can be assured of a victory against Canelo in September. It's such a great gesture from Floyd Mayweather, seeing him support a fighter who has the possibility to reach his 50-0 undefeated boxing record. Of the only two boxers to have defeated Canelo Alvarez, Floyd Mayweather was the first person to do so, and his presence in Crawford's gym was to help him with the needed advice and techniques that'll make him victorious on fight night. Crawford is good enough to take on Alvarez, but with more advice, his chances for success increase. The major aspect of his boxing Mayweather worked on was his footwork, as he wanted him to be more mobile.
the king.
So you think you guys got a lot in common?
In some aspects, yeah.
How are you guys different?
We both box. I think, you know, I take more chances.
If I take Floyd Mayweather in his absolute prime, and I take Manny Pacquiao in his absolute prime,
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd still beats him.
Floyd beat everybody.
You don't believe there's a guy at 140, 147 in the history of boxing that could have beat Floyd in his prime?
It'd be tough. Floyd, man, that boy, man, that's the GOAT, man. That boy bad.
What makes it, I mean, what, because, and I told people this, I said, look at Floyd. I said, Floyd, it's not that he trains, I mean, it's his life. And from the very beginning, he said, I want to be the best.
Mobility is one quality shared between Mayweather and Bivol, the two fighters to defeat Canelo, and to be victorious, Crawford also must become very mobile and use his footwork to hit and not get hit. With this, he'll only get Canelo frustrated and pissed. And when Mayweather was to predict the fight after training, he had no doubts that Terence Crawford would win. Crawford has everything it takes to beat Canelo, and he will. Remember, I bet on Bivol against him? I'm doing that on Crawford too. I'm definitely making money. Recently, in an interview, Floyd Mayweather brought back memories of his famous fight against Canelo Alvarez at the weight class.
That's gave the sport of boxing their whole life and sacrificed a lot inside that square circle. They should feel that way. So if he feels that way, you know, more power to him. I had one fight, and the fight wasn't actually at a...
I have one fight, and the fight was at a catchweight, but it wasn't my idea. Anyone can go online and pull this up. It was an article. So with Canelo, at one time I believe Canelo thought I was scared of him, that I was afraid. So he said, Floyd doesn't want to fight me. I'm willing to meet him at 152 or 152 and a half pounds. And me, I called his bluff and said, if you want to do it, let's do it at 152 or 152 and a half. But after, Canelo made the weight. It wasn't like it was a certain clause where he couldn't gain weight. He weighed 152 or 152 and a half. I think he came in at 168 or close to 170. But I came in at 151 or 152.
Catchweight. It was at a catchweight, but it wasn't my idea. So at one particular time, you guys can, anybody, you can go online and pull this up. It was an article. So with Canelo said, I believe Canelo at one particular time thought I was scared of him. You know,
perhaps Terence Crawford felt this was good enough for him as well. Since he had so much to learn about the new weight class he'll be moving to in less than a month. Despite the fact that boxing fans have severally drawn comparisons between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Terence Crawford, Bud refused to deprive the 50-0 boxing champion of his rightful honors. Terence Crawford appreciates Floyd Mayweather, and when he was asked about their similarities, he had a few more things to say as well. He's the king, Crawford praised and acknowledged Floyd's greatness. He then continued, "We have quite a lot in common in some aspects, but we're a little different because I take more chances. Earlier in his career, he was taking a lot of chances in his career as well. It just depends on which Floyd Mayweather you're talking about. I mean, you're talking about money or you're talking about Pretty Boy, because Pretty Boy was the seeking destroyer. Then he started having hand injuries, so he couldn't really keep up with the same power, and he was moving up and fighting bigger."
Chances,
Excuse me, Crawford.
you know, right now. But earlier in his career, he was taking a lot of chances as well. So, you know, it just depends on which Floyd Mayweather you talk about. You talk about money or do you talk about Pretty Boy? Because Pretty Boy was the seek and destroy fighter.
Like Crawford said, they have quite a lot in common. However, boxing fans and supporters have compared both fighters to discover the better fighter. And when they did, a news source put Crawford as the likely winner of a fight between the two fighters. When it comes to pure boxing ability, you'd be hard-pressed to find another producer of more sweet science masterclasses than Floyd Mayweather Jr. The crisp jab, precision, timing, and counterpunching ability all empowered Mayweather to pick his long list of opponents apart, and he did it over 2 iterations of himself. Just as Crawford said Pretty Boy Floyd was the more aggressive boxer, bringing the fight to opponents, while Money Mayweather years later would compute and edge opponents out with brilliant boxing. Whichever style you prefer, both bodies of work made the legend that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. Comparatively, boxing fans are still in awe of what Crawford did to Spence in his last fight.
He drops him again. That's a hard knockdown that time with the left hook. How about that? Keeps battling, falling forward. Uppercut! Terence Crawford has stopped Yuri Ortiz.
Whether it was a power jab that he repeatedly snapped through Spence's guard, punching in traffic, or the timing of his counterpunches, Bud exhibited supreme boxing ability. And it wasn't the first time, but we've never seen it like that against a fighter of Spence's caliber. When talking about pure boxing ability, arguably nobody should get a push over Mayweather. But Crawford's style of boxing is different, yet effective, even explosive in his own right. So how would their boxing stack up if Crawford would fight Mayweather in his prime and use his lasering shots against Mayweather's disciplined sweet science? Who would assert the jab first? Who would be the more effective counterpuncher? There are so many ways to see this play out that it might be best to declare this category a draw. How many times have we witnessed Mayweather lull and eventually lure his opponents to the middle of the ring, where he computed information, analyzed it, and uploaded a blueprint to pick his opponents apart? Mayweather took his ring IQ and mantra of hit and not get hit, and essentially wrote it to the Hall of Fame as an undefeated 5-division world champion. Crawford, in being crowned undisputed at junior welterweight and now welterweight, has shown a high ring IQ himself throughout his career. Mayweather demonstrated hand speed, especially on the counterpunching end, but Crawford's slashing angles and whiplashing delivery has Bud owning the advantage in speed. Of Mayweather's 50 wins, 27 came by way of knockout. That's in comparison to Crawford's 40 wins, 31 of them coming via knockout, and he's still active. Now re-enter Crawford's wizardry over Spence, dropping him 3 times en route to a dominant 9th round TKO.
When you hook, you want to change you want to hook from the hips. So when you hook, boom, this toe gonna go up and this one gonna go down. So you here and it's gonna go boom. So you can do a 45 or you can do straight. Come straight from the shoulders, boom. Open it up a little bit, bam. But get that, there you go. So, yeah, so you want to come, everything you do, you want to come from the shoulders, boom. Just turn it. When you coming in there, you hear, boom. And that's where that torque gonna come from. The hips, your legs, all the way up in there.
Decimating a power-punching, body-snatching fighter like Spence, who systematically broke down Kell Brook, Sean Porter, and Yordenis Ugas to become the unified world welterweight champion, was anything but easy. Yet, Crawford made it look easy, and his power was a big reason why. Mayweather painted in the corner, raising that shoulder into the Philly shell and absorbing shots with his arm while using his free hand to pick his punches was defensive boxing, turned counterpunching at its very finest. Crawford has some slick defense to him as well, but Mayweather took defensive boxing skills to another level, of damn near perfection. All dreamt up, how would Crawford against a prime Mayweather fight actually go? And who would win? After a tense first round, where each boxer is trying to feel out the other, we see Crawford being the more active and busy fighter early on, launching and landing shots, even if many of them are absorbed by Mayweather's shoulder and elbow. By the middle rounds, Mayweather's style would set in as he'd pepper Crawford with jabs, banking some rounds. Yet, with a constant flow of pressure, Crawford's firepower could get to Mayweather, even enough to hurt the legend at times. As close as we see this one being, Crawford's fighting ability and those whiplashing punches might be just enough to have judges credit him on his pressure and volume en route to a points win over Mayweather's brand of boxing. Crawford's approach to training for his fight against Canelo Alvarez combines rigorous physical preparation with a strong mental game, setting him apart in the boxing world. Crawford's current training routine is a diverse blend of activities designed to hone his boxing prowess, maintain peak physical condition, improve his punch power, and make him gain the necessary weight he needs to challenge Canelo Alvarez. A typical day in the champ's training routine includes circuit training with weights, strength and conditioning workouts to improve speed and agility, core work where McIntyre bounces a heavy medicine ball off Crawford's stomach while he's doing crunches, mountain runs, and swimming. Terence Crawford is especially a fan of swimming for cardio training. We'll swim for 30 minutes to an hour every night. It's non-impact, basically easy on their joints. It helps with recovery, regeneration of muscle cells and fibers. It's not natural for him, so he has to work a little bit harder. It's a different type of cardio from running. I think it helps tremendously on the cardio side. He then moves to boxing training. With his boxing training, Crawford is always working hard to improve his moves, both on the attack and the defense. You can see this clearly when he practices with his pads. One of the things that makes him stand out is how easily he can switch between two different stances when he fights. At first, his coaches tried to convince him to stick to one stance, but eventually they realized it was better to train him in both. You can still see him practicing this way today. When boxers train for a fight, they often practice sparring with other boxers to improve. This was especially true for Terence Crawford early in his career. He was so good that even top boxers like Timothy Bradley were impressed by him. Nowadays, Terence is one of the best boxers in the world, and other boxers come to him to spar. They don't usually win though, because Terence is so good.
The best, so unique, something that we have not seen before.
His defense and his instincts. I think Floyd had the best defense in boxing history.
Better than Sweet Pea?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you know Sweet Pea had some defense.
But
Sweet Pea had defense, but he ain't that offense like Floyd.
I say he got more defense than Sweet Pea because he got hit less.
Yes.
Even though Terence is naturally right-handed, he is also good at fighting with his left hand. When Crawford spars with other boxers, he often uses his world-class left hand. Boxing fans know that developing punching power requires a lot of hard work. One of the main tools used for this purpose is the heavy bag. Crawford, a professional boxer, is no exception. Crawford uses the heavy bag to practice his punching technique and build his shoulder endurance. Watching Terence in action, you can see him throwing powerful punches, quick combinations, and everything in between.
You know, Sweet Pea had more head movement, so Sweet Pea was better at slipping punches, making you miss.
Right.
But Floyd on defense, like catch, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
You know, Floyd hands down. Then making you pay, catching counter, catching, slipping. You know what I mean? Like hitting you with shots that you don't see. Like that's where Floyd mastered.
To get the most out of his training, Crawford mixes up the rhythm of his punches, sometimes hitting the bag softly, and other times with full force. This is a common exercise that helps him improve his overall boxing skills. Crawford has been working with his coaches for most of his life. One of the most important parts of his training is practicing on the pads with his coaches. During these sessions, he doesn't focus on hitting hard or fast. Instead, he works on different offensive and defensive scenarios, focusing on technique and tactics. Crawford and his coaches also use other training tools, like reaction noodles and a punch shield, to improve their movement and precision. Terence Crawford is a phenomenal shadow boxer with some impressive skills. One of the things that make him stand out is his ability to stay calm and adapt to different situations in the ring.
Floyd master, you know, hit and not get hit.
And you look at the people that he beat.
Yeah.
I mean, people are all just go back and look at those world champions from the Cottos and the Pacquiao, the Ricky Hattons, the Arturo Gottis. I mean, like 20 plus world champs. I ain't talking about they legit world champs.
Yeah.
He's good at throwing offensive and defensive punches, making it look effortless. But that's not all. Crawford is also incredibly tough mentally. He'll often train in really challenging conditions to push himself harder. And when he's not doing that, he likes to use light 2 kilograms dumbbells to shadow box. These help him build strength while also staying fast yet graceful so he can hit hard while still being quick on his feet. Crawford is consistently looking to improve his accuracy and timing. To achieve this, he uses a specific bag called the double end bag during his training. It helps him to practice footwork and head movement, which are important skills to have in the boxing ring. Mikey Garcia, who is the younger brother of Ring Magazine's Manager of the Year winner, Robert Garcia, was one such skeptic. The former featherweight, super featherweight, lightweight, and super lightweight champion told Fight Hub TV that he did not fully support the fight, despite being one of the most desired by fans of the sport. "I'm not a big fan of that fight," Garcia said, highlighting the weight difference between the Mexican and the American, and remembered how Crawford suffered against Israel Madrimov after moving up to 154 pounds, 3 categories.
There are too many weight classes apart. And although the skills, Crawford is one of the best fighters that I've seen. Now, Canelo is, fighting at 168. Crawford just moved up to 154, and he had some trouble with that in that fight. Now, where do you plan on going? 164, 65, 66? Canelo ain't gonna come down to 160.
Yeah,
Canelo ain't gonna come down.
Despite Crawford's seemingly superior skills, Garcia believes that size difference will be the deciding factor in a potential matchup. The Mexican fighter's power and size will likely give him the edge. That's why I'm not a fan of that fight. I think Crawford has accomplished everything he had to accomplish, from 140 to 147 and now 154. That's even bigger for him, Garcia added. If Crawford really wants to push himself, he could go the route of an undisputed fight in his current division, he opined. However, there is a problem, but there's no money in that. Garcia acknowledged that a fight between Canelo and Crawford would generate substantial revenue, but as a fan of the fights, he is not in favor of the matchup, as he said he would prefer to see Alvarez face fighters within his weight class or higher, such as Artur Beterbiev, or a rematch with Dmitry Bivol.
Maybe 166 max if he accepts. I think Canelo wins that fight based on just the size, power and size. Now, skill-wise, I think Crawford's a better skilled fighter, but the difference in size will be the the deciding factor. And that's why I'm not even a fan of that fight. I think Crawford has accomplished everything he had to accomplish from 140, 147, now 154. That's even greater for him. He wants to do something, collect belts at 154, he can attempt that. But there's no money in that compared to the Canelo fight. And Canelo is trying to fight other guys, and you know.
He wanted to challenge himself to go up to 175 again and challenge himself against those fighters and not a smaller guy going up in weight, Garcia explained, and that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.